Look down to find yet another merchant nearby, though I hope you don't mind me skipping his preamble. The only real thing of value here is the mottled purple gourd that I had mentioned earlier. Upon entering the village, we see what I think appears to be a woman in disheveled blue robes drawing water. And as we near the village, it's evident that something is clearly wrong here. Let's see what kind of information we can gather about the area and what's happened to the villagers here. Though he doesn't implicitly state it, this incessantly trembling man's name is Shosuke.
Calm down.
Are you an honorable person?
Yes.
Thank goodness. You are an honorable person. Is there something you want to ask? Look, sorry, but if you have questions, I'll have to answer with this basket on my head.
What is wrong with this village?
When questioned about the village's state of disrepair, he tells us that the villagers have been driven mad, suffering, due to some mysterious form of dehydration, and that he had previously suffered symptoms, but miraculously recovered after regurgitating the sake that had previously been distributed by the head priest of the village.
Drink sake? You get thirsty. The sake cask runs dry in no time, so everyone has no choice but to drink the water in the ponds and rivers. But the more you drink it, the thirstier you get. You get thirstier and thirstier. Can't ever drink enough.
Our next query is in regards to the villagers themselves. Shosuke informs us that while he doesn't know much, he's certain of one thing. The villagers are fearful of fire, and that he too was fearful of the flame. For a time, it is to my belief that he may have been burdened with this fear over the course of time he was ill from ingesting the sake of the head priest, and that a remnant of that fear still lingers, signifying that he has at least undergone partial transformation. It's at this point that he mentions the village outcast, a hunter by the name of Inuhiko on the outskirts of the village that engages in taboo practices, who's in possession of a pine resin that burns eternal, presumably to keep the transmutated villagers at bay. Shosuke comments on this annoyedly, further reinforcing my prior postulation. Our final inquiry is in regards to the head priest of the village. Little is known of him, aside from some cryptic ramblings about the consumption of sake and becoming true citizens of the palace. Could it be that perhaps the sake is of some unfamiliar origin? And with that we bid farewell to Shosuke, with his last comment being that he must not succumb to thirst. As you depart from Shosuke's house, look upward to find a grapple point in the roof. Make your way across the decaying rooftops, and head for the left side of the village. There's a sizable amount of enemies occupying the once lush rice fields here. Utilize the grapple points here to effortlessly bypass them, where an Ashina sake awaits you at the vertex. A bottle of Ashina brewed sake, while it does not contain water from the fountainhead, it is made from the purest of waters, and is a drink beloved by the people of Ashina. Look upward for yet another grapple point. Stick to the path to find a scrap of adamantite, and enter the derelict house for another divine confetti and some yellow powder. Given the village's state of extreme disrepair, it's very unlikely that there will be any legal repercussions for the assault and burglary that we just committed anyway. And sharing is caring. After you've finished robbing the poor, defenseless, and dehydrated villagers of Mibu village, cross the wooden bridge and leap over the rock to your right, and prepare for more Mighty Plume's favorite. After single-handedly freeing 40% of America from obesity and the necessitated shady business practices of KFC, continue onward to the ramshackle house of Inuhiko, the hunter that Shosuke had spoken of earlier. Ascend to the top of the house to find not only another scrap of adamantite, but the pine resin ember that belonged to Inuhiko as well. The resin was found in a black pine within the forests of Mibu village. The ever-smoldering flames acted as a landmark to find one's way to the village. In time, the villagers came to loathe the flames, and the black pines were lost. After collecting the ember, we turned back to see the emergence of innumerable undead villagers, assuredly an indicator of his grim fate. Rather than return the way you came, look upward and grapple to an adjacent log to find a Mibu balloon of soul, and descend to the fishing docks below to claim a pellet. After collecting the pellet, cross the pond and head towards the center of the village, just past Shosuke's house. Made evident by the large sakura blossom tree that mysteriously still blooms in this otherwise dead village. Be wary lest you fall into the waiting hands of the villagers that lurk deep beneath the soil and reach the base of the tree for another gourd seed. Advance past the bell-wielding Taro and cross the same bridge that we crossed earlier to reach Inuhiko's house. But this time turn left to find a weakened Ukonzaemon, enervated by the mystifying melody of the shamisen playing woman.
I did not see you coming. I can hear it. I'm sure the shamisen player is just beyond here. I knew it. She's been waiting for me the whole time.
Depart from Ukonzaemon's side and continue along the path to find the forlorn shamisen player incessantly sobbing. When asked for the reason for her lamentation, she replies that she's unsure of the whereabouts of Lord Sakuza, but we never encounter him, though it is possible for us to deduce his identity, given what we already know. Ukonzaemon was drawn to Mibu by the Shimasen player's haunting melody, a melody only he was able to hear. It's at this point that she informs us that she's written countless letters to Sakuza, but he's never once written back. And it's at this point she proposes the question to us.
Why must everyone hide him from me?
When you fail to answer the woman's question, she manifests as an apparition and immediately turns hostile. Put some ground between you and her before you use a consumable, as she has a tendency to input-read item uses. Given that her nature is phantasmic, make sure to prepare divine confetti in advance. Orin is quite idiosyncratic, and as such, has a very unique combat style. She's capable of dealing a high amount of posture damage if your deflects aren't well calculated, and floats gracefully while attacking in quick succession. She always ends her flurry of blows with the sweeping attack, so keep that in mind, and counter it with the leap to deal some extra posture damage, or if you need a brief respite to heal. Orin has one final, devastating attack, a slow yet lethal grapple that she'll only do if her assault breaks her posture. Though this attack can be fatal, it can also be easily circumvented by use of a safety roll. It's implied that Orin is a member of the ancient Okami clan, or at the very least, is believed to be a descendant of one. The village's name, Mibu, is a literary translation of water life, and implies that the inhabitants may be somehow related to the Okami. In regards to my earlier theory, judging from what Orin said concerning Lord Sakuza, I think it's safe to assume that the Sakuza she sought all this time likely departed from this world long ago. Upon exercising her restless spirit, Orin bids us farewell with the following message.
I'm so glad. Lord Sakuza brought me that man in his stead. Oh, and he's right over there.
I believe this to be in reference to Jinzaimon's unnamed father, Sakuza Kamano. When we first encounter Jinzaimon,
Beautiful.
he's mystified by the mysterious melody
As if it
emanating
yearns
from
to
deep within
call
the Ashina
for
depths.
Can you hear
Next
it?
time we meet with him is just before the bottomless
By the
pit,
wind.
where
It's
we
coming
establish
from
that the
this
melody
hole.
is something
You hear it, do you not?
he can solely hear.
I see. Perhaps I alone can hear it.
We next come face to face
Now that I
in the
think
hidden
it over,
forest, where
my
he
father
mentions
told me
his father
stories
had
about a
often
hidden
told
town
him
shrouded
stories,
deeply in mist.
stories of an
ominous
ominous,
town. Don't ever
mist-shrouded
go there,
village,
he said.
to
But
which he should
that
never
doesn't matter to
go.
me now.
Our
I'm
final
sure the
meeting
shamisen
was just
player is
before
just
this,
beyond
where we
here.
discovered
I knew it.
Jinzaimon debilitated
She's been waiting
by the
for me
shamisen
the
player's
whole
ominous
time.
melody.
Are you there, Shinobi?
Yes.
I must give you my thanks, Shinobi.
Your thanks.
You brought the shamisen player to me just a moment ago. She caressed me while playing her sweet melody. It was a different song than before. Like a lullaby. A peaceful, warm melody. She spoke to me. She played. Thank you for coming to me, she said. It turns out she was calling to me this whole time.
The notion that Sakuza is Jinzaimon's father is further supported by the Jinzo statue bequeathed to us. Lord Sakuza, please take this cloth and use it to bundle this little one so that he may live on in peace. With his long, arduous journey finally at its end, having finally found the shamisen player, at last, Jinzaimon passes away, comforted by the warm embrace of death.